Our directions for Work Together 8-2 says, use the journal and the ledger accounts below. It does give us a partial worksheet for the month ended July 31st of the current year, and I'm going to guide you through the following examples. So it says, continuing using the same journal that we use for our adjusting entries, journalize and post the closing entries. So pretty much what we have to realize when we look at our worksheet, what we're closing is everything in my income statement column plus drawing. So the only thing that's left that will have a balance is going to be my accounting equation of assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. Not even the drawing account. So to start us out, on line 6 of my journal, I'm going to put the word closing entries. And that word always needs to be centered to stand out from our journal entries. And that is a heading, so that means everything below it does not need to go through and have a source document. So we have to do our closing entries. We have to remember to read, which means revenue, expense, income, summary, drawing. My revenue account is sales. Sales has a credit balance of $5,511. I need to get that to 0. I'm going to put the date in of the 31st because we're doing this as of July 31st. Sales has a credit balance. I needed to get it to 0, so I have to debit it. So I'm going to put sales first. And that's going to be $5,511. What do I close sales into? It's on your note sheet. Income summary. So with this transaction, in effect, all I did is I took whatever is in sales and I got it to 0. But I can't have a debit without a credit, so I'm going to debit debit sales, and I'm going to credit income summary. Now, my next part of closing entries is the E in read, which stands for expenses. Expenses have a debit normal balance. So what do I have to do to close them? Credit. So your expense account cannot be listed first. So I have to put the date of the 31st. My account that's going to be debited is going to be income summary, but I don't know for how much yet. So I'm just going to put the word in there, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to list all of my expense accounts. So advertising expense has a balance of $821. Then I'm going to do insurance expense. It has a balance of $300. Miscellaneous expense has a balance of $347. And my last expense is going to be supplies expense, which has a debit balance of $713. So to get it to 0, I need to credit it $713. So I looked at my partial worksheet. I looked at my income statement columns, and I looked at the balances for all of those, and I have to get them to 0. Okay, so I have now 4 credits. I need to find my debit. How would I do it? Yeah, add them all up. So I'm going to take 821, 300, 347, and 713, add those up, and that's going to be my debit amount for income summary. Anyone get a debit amount? Say it again. 2181. Anyone confirm with that? $2,181. Destiny's shaking her head. I like that one. Okay, so I have a debit of $2,181, and I have 4 credits to go with it. What's my third letter for my closing entries? Nope. and I stands for income summary. Now, when I look at my worksheet here, this is, you're like, oh, Gressel, I don't get it. If I look at income summary, what's the balance of it? Nothing. Big fat egg. There's nothing on my worksheet for income summary. What I need to realize is right here on my journal, I don't have a balance yet, but if I were to go through and post, my income summary would have a balance. And that balance would be my net income. And that net income is $3,330. How did I know that? On your worksheet. So when I look here at my worksheet, there is no amount in income summary, but right here is the amount of my net income. And it even says right here net income because my expenses are less than my revenue. My expenses is $2,181. My revenue is $5,511. So therefore I have a net income. You need to remember that the third part of your closing entry is closing income summary. Read, R-E-I-D. Income summary gets closed into which one? Look on your notes. Capital. So here's my question. This is where it gets a little bit harder. Does income summary have a debit or credit balance right now? Credit. Why? Because our revenue is greater than our expenses. Because right here, revenue is greater than expenses. So therefore, income summary is going to have a credit balance. So what do I need to do to close it? Debit. I don't think you guys are awake today. I close it into capital, so Darlene Wong capital is going to be credited, which is a good thing because it's a net income and the value of my capital account is going up. Now, it is not always going to be in this order. You are going to have an example within this chapter where you have a net loss. If you have a net loss, you do everything the same except right here, you flip it and capital gets debited and income summary gets credited. So just remember you have to determine which one goes first in the third closing entry by whether or not it's a net income or net loss. Now, the last letter for our closing entry is D, and D stands for drawing. When I look at my worksheet here, the whole point of closing entries is to get my account balances to zero. So I look here at Darlene Wong drawing, and it has a debit balance of $2,100. So I need to get drawing to zero. So what do I have to do to drawing? Debit it or credit it? Credit. I'm going to put the date of the 31st. Darlene Wong capital is going to go first for $2,100. And then Darlene Wong drawing is going to be credited $2,100. Now, I can guarantee at least 5 of you are going to make this major mistake on the test. You are going to try to close capital. Don't close capital. When you look at your worksheet, the amount that is listed there for Darlene Wong capital never gets put anywhere on your closing entries. I know that drawing gets used, or excuse me, capital gets used twice here, but you never ever close capital. Capital is part of your accounting equation of assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. Okay, so never close your capital account. The next step that we have to do is we have to go through and post. So let's rock and roll that posting. So I'm going to start at the very top, and I'm going to go through and post to sales. So I'm going to go ahead and find my sales account. Put the date of the 31st. Post reference is 4 because I am posting from page 4 of the journal. Sales is being debited $5,511. Now I need you to read this instruction line that everyone skips over. It says, note, type a 0 in both the debit and credit balance columns to indicate a 0 balance. So it has a credit balance of $5,511. I just debited it $5,511, so therefore its balance is 0. I must put a 0 here in the debit column and in the credit column. If you don't do that, it will mark it wrong. My last step is to take my account number 410 and put it back up on my journal. Once you have done that to sales, you can go ahead and open up your account for income summary. I'm going to put the month in there of July. Date is the 31st. Post reference is 4. And I'm going to credit $5,511. It previously had a 0 balance, so I'm going to put $5,511 in my credit amount column. The last step that I do is put in $330 back up on top to say, hey, I posted this amount to that account, income summary. Now, immediately on line 9 of my journal, I have income summary affecting again for the 31st. So I put the date of the 31st, post reference of 4, and I'm going to debit it $2,181. I previously had a credit balance of $5,511. I subtract my $2,181, and now my balance is $3,330. Does that number seem familiar? It is on your worksheet. It should be on your worksheet. If it's not on your worksheet, somewhere, somehow, you've made a boo-boo, and you need to find and fix it. Now, Justin, is it going to have a debit or credit balance? Which one's bigger? Your credit or your debit? Credit. So it's going to have a credit balance of $3,330 because my credit is larger. After I have posted that debit amount of $2,181 to income summary, I'm going to then go down and post to my advertising expense. Advertising expense with the date of the 31st, post reference of 4, and I am crediting advertising expense $821. It previously had a debit balance of $821, so now it has a 0 balance, and I need to put a 0 balance in both the debit and credit columns and put $510 back up on my ledger. Once you have posted advertising expense, you should do the same thing to insurance expense. So I'll open up that ledger account, insurance expense, put the date of the 31st, post reference of 4. Insurance expense is being credited $300. It previously had a debit balance of $300, so now it has a balance of 0. So I must put a 0 in both the debit and credit columns according to the directions. And I put my account number 520 back up on top. Once you have done insurance expense, repeat the same with miscellaneous. The whole point of what we're doing right now is trying to get our revenue and our expenses to 0. So the whole goal is to go through and have our expenses accounts have a 0 balance. So that way we are getting our accounts ready for the next fiscal period for us to determine what our net income or net loss will be. So I went across with the date of the 31st, post reference of 4. I credited miscellaneous expense $347 and put a 0 in both my debit and credit column. And then miscellaneous expense, I put the account number 530 back up on my journal. My last expense account that I need to close is going to be my supplies expense. Date of the 31st, last day of the fiscal period, post reference of 4 for the page number, and I'm going to credit supplies expense $713. and then put account number 540 back up on top. Let's post then to income summary. Now, when I look at income summary here, income summary has a credit balance of 330, and right there I'm debiting it 330, which is perfect because I need to get income summary to 0. Date of the 31st, post reference of 4, and I'm debiting income summary $3,330. Which means I have a 0 balance. I have to put a 0 in both the debit and credit column and put account number 330 back up on top. That $3,330 relates to my net income, so therefore I have to go through and take that net income and put it into my capital account. Put the date of the 31st, post reference of 4, and I'm going to credit capital $3,330. It previously had a credit balance of $6,543. So I'm going to add that together. So I have a new balance for the credit column of $9,873. Can anyone confirm my math? I got a couple thumbs up and the head shakes. Thank you very much. Last step that I do then is put that account number 310 back up on line 15 of my journal to say that I just posted that $3,330. My last closing entry is the D for drawing, and the whole purpose is to get drawing to 0. So here I have my capital account already open. I'm going to put the date of the 31st, post reference of 4, and I'm going to debit it $2,100 because that means throughout this fiscal period, the owner took out $100 of value out of the business. So now my capital account has a balance of $7,773. Anyone confirm that math on that one? Yep, thank you very much. Account number 310 goes back up on there. Now, the whole point here is never to get capital to 0. Don't do it. You don't need to get capital to 0. Capital is part of your balance sheet. So it needs to have a balance. We do need to get drawing to 0, so that's the last one that we're posting here. Put the date here of the 31st. Post reference is going to be 4, and I'm going to credit $2,100. It'll have a 0 balance. So I'm going to put 320 back up on top. I'm going to check that answer. Whoop, whoop. I did well. I'm going to go ahead and turn on that application problem. Don't worry about completing that on your own. If you hit refresh, you should find that your application problem is available for you. The other thing that I did turn on as well is going to be, you should find that your study guide is going to be due on Friday. There are 3 sections to this chapter, so we'll be wrapping that up tomorrow. I also do want to remind you that for your final exam, you will be having a test on chapter 1 through 8. And I'll be reviewing with you a little bit on what will be on there, but I wanted to give you a heads up that you will have chapter 1 through 8. Do you know what day you're having finals with me? Yes, no? Okay. Our finals are going to be on Tuesday, 1 week from today. Okay. Your finals will be with me on Tuesday, January 23rd. From 8 until 9:30. So next Tuesday, you are having all of your odd finals, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Your 5th hour final time is going to be determined by your lunch mod. So if you're not sure when you test and when you eat, please touch base with your 5th hour teacher, but I can also go over it with you on this. And then next week, Wednesday, you're having your even finals, so 2, 4, 6. Your finals will be done at 12:40 on next Wednesday. In the afternoon, that's time for you to go in with teachers if you have any other missing things or things you need to make up this semester. But if you're all done, that is time that you are available to leave. Okay?